What's going on? The other day I got a request to do a video about qualifying sales over the phone. And for remodelers, construction guys, this can be kind of a challenge. And so I'm just going to talk about some things I learned from my experience of marketing and selling remodels and working with contractors all over the place, selling construction projects. There's some things that I've learned about sales that might be able to help you out. So before I go too far into the actual qualifying people over the phone, let's talk about the most important thing in sales, and that is mindset. Your mindset going into a phone call or a situation where you're selling a product or a service, your mindset is the most important thing. And a lot of people, especially people just getting into sales, they're self-conscious, they're concerned, they don't like the idea of selling things to people. And so maybe the first thing is to just kind of define your definition of what you're doing here. Another way I like to say it is define your narrative. Whenever I'm about to call somebody, I always define my narrative. And that's almost always, I'm calling this person to find out what kind of problems they're dealing with so that I can help them solve those problems. That's the only thing I care about when I go into a sales call. And that really helps me focus on what's important, because what's important is for me to figure out what their situation is, and even more importantly, what they think their situation is and what they think the solution is. I know what solutions I can offer. So if I can properly diagnose their problems, then I have a chance at being able to offer a solution. And with remodeling, it's no different. Any kind of construction. If somebody calls because they want their bathroom remodeled, then their current situation is they have a bathroom they don't like for X, Y, and Z reasons, which are reasons you should find out. And then they have something in mind of what they want. Typically, that's all they know. They don't know what the process is for getting their bathroom remodeled. They don't know how much it's going to cost. They don't know how long it's going to take. They don't know any of that stuff. But your only job when you get on the phone with somebody at first is to figure out what their problem is and if you can even solve it. So let's talk about why you need to qualify people on the phone. One of my least favorite things about being a contractor is spending a bunch of time trying to get a project and then not getting it. So spending a bunch of time meeting with people in their homes, or driving to a job site 4 times to meet with subcontractors to put together an estimate or a bid, only to have the project owner either go with someone else or decide that they can't afford it, or anything else that holds the job up. We've all been ghosted before. We've all put a bunch of work into trying to get a project, spent hours agonizing over the prices, making it just right, only to have people take the estimate and never call us again. When I'm qualifying over the phone, the main thing I'm trying to do is avoid spending a bunch of time on something that isn't going to turn into an actual project. So for remodelers, let's just use them as an example. When somebody calls me for a remodeling project, I always ask them some standard questions. At first, I'm over the phone, I'm asking them to explain their project. What are we looking at here? Do you have plans already? Is it even the kind of project that requires plans? Usually I'll try to figure out how they feel about permits. Are they wanting to pull permits? Are they trying to do this under the radar? What kind of person am I dealing with? I'll very often ask them what their project budget is. A lot of contractors, they're like, oh, I don't like to bring up price, and I'd rather meet with them first and then bring up price. Not me. I don't want to go look at a $50,000 project if this person only wants to spend $10,000. And on the flip side, I don't want to go look at a $10,000 project if somebody was thinking about spending $100,000. Someone has $100,000 to invest in their house and they're looking at a $20,000 project, maybe they need something different. So asking them what their budget is super important. And you'll get that classic response of, oh, well, I don't know how much it costs. That's why I'm calling you. And I just say, okay, great. A bathroom remodel roughly speaking, the one that you told me based on projects that I've actually built is going to be between $15,000 and $25,000. and then I just pause and I wait to see what they say. They'll either say, oh, that's way too much, I don't have that much, which is great because we just disqualified them over the phone, and now I'm not going to spend any more time on it. Or they'll say, oh yeah, that's in line with what I was expecting. Perfect. They're able to go through the process. And so asking for price is a big one. I also always ask, especially these days, because we're booked out for so long, when are you wanting to do this project? Is this a project that can be done next year, or is this something that you need done by Christmas? Because if you need it done by Christmas, we're not going to be able to do it for you. We're not even going to be able to start this project for like a year from now. And so always asking right up front, when do you want to do this? That can help disqualify them, because if your schedule's full, you don't want to waste their time talking about this if it's not going to meet their timeline, and you don't want to waste your time talking about it as well. So timeline, budget, both of those things are important. Sometimes I'll ask if they're already talking to other contractors. I want to know these things, and what I do and what you should do is look back at your records of the last however many estimates that you have records for. And if you're not tracking this stuff, like if you're wanting to grow this construction business and you're wanting to get more sales and get more clients and expand this thing, you have to track everything. You need to track your sales conversations. How many people did you talk to on the phone? How many estimates did you give out? How many of those estimates got accepted? How many projects were completed? How much money did you make from those projects? You should be able to know all of these things. And if you don't know now, don't worry about it. Just start tracking it today. Start tracking all these numbers. Have a notebook or a spreadsheet or whatever where you track all this stuff. But you should be able to look back over the last year or 6 months or whatever and say, okay, I've done 120 sales calls. I've produced 60 estimates. I've done 20 projects, and this is how much money I made from it. And you should be able to go back to those estimates that didn't get accepted or the projects that didn't move forward and ask yourself, why didn't they move forward? Was the budget out of their price range? Was the timeline not right? What were the reasons why these projects didn't go through? What were the reasons why you gave out estimates and you didn't get those projects? Make a list of those reasons, and then that's the list that you use to make your qualifying questions list. Whenever someone calls me for a sale, I have these questions here that I answer for them. Every time a new person calls me, I make a new page on my iPad and I ask them the same questions and I fill out the form. And that way I can look back at all the sales calls I've done and see exactly what their answers were. And this helps me not forget to ask anything important because it's easy to forget this stuff, and it allows me to track all of these things. So right off the top of your head, if you've been doing this for a while, if you've done any kind of volume of sales calls, you should have a pretty good idea of what the qualifying question should be. So then your only thing you got to do is ask them. And remember the mindset of that you're carrying into these calls. You're only here to try to help this person in the least amount of time as possible. So your objective when qualifying is to determine whether or not it's worth spending any of your time or their time on this. You're almost trying to disqualify people. You're almost trying to talk them out of it. It's like, oh, well, you might not want to work with us because we're currently booked up for 8 months and we can't even start your project till next year. You should say it. It's okay to say it like that. Because the person's either going to be like, oh yeah, we need this done way sooner than that. Thanks for letting me know. Or they're going to say, oh, well, you guys must be pretty good if you're that busy. We're okay with waiting that long. And so just with the right mindset in mind, it should be easy to ask these questions. If you're uncomfortable asking about price, just get over it. Have some ranges in mind for whatever projects you do, bathrooms, gutters, whatever they are. You should be able to look at all the projects you've done in the past and make a little cheat sheet for yourself of some price ranges of projects that you've done so that you can give people estimates over the phone. Oh, you're looking for a kitchen remodel? What kind of countertops? Are we replacing the cabinets, flooring? are we moving any walls, whatever. You should be able to kind of go through all those questions, look at your sheet, and give them a price range and determine whether or not you should even go to their house and look at it. So those are my thoughts on qualifying over the phone. It's super important, especially as you start to get more leads and you get more volume. You don't have time to be going and meeting every single person. You don't have time to be doing estimates for people that aren't going to hire you. So figuring out how to recognize those things early is how you're going to be able to move forward. If you have any questions or comments about this, throw them in the comment section. If you like this kind of content, subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you on the next one.